So we got a stitching pony here. You got a lot of options for these. This is a pretty cheap one, pretty easy to use. I never upgraded because I went to the sewing machine pretty quickly. This one is like a little bicycle seat you sit on. You got your clamp here. You can get ones that are freestanding that lean against your opposite leg, so you're working at sort of an angle. You can get a stitching pony that has a chair mounted to it, so you can just sit on the whole thing. You can get ones that bolt to a table. But this is the one we're going to use. So what I've got here are my needles. I've got my different colored threads so you can see what each hand is doing. There's a knot in them. I just tied them together. Now typically when you're stitching, you're going to have one continuous piece, no knot. I'll show you that on these 7 stitches per inch. Right now we're going to do the 3 millimeter. So to get started, what we have to do is do at least one back stitch, 1 or 2 typically, to lock the end of our stitch. Now usually I'd come in through here, but I'm going to come in through the back so I can hide this knot a little bit better. So I'm back 1 hole, just pull it through. Now if you don't have a knot, you're going to need to balance this out. So I would take both my needles and I'd hold them straight up so I can balance out my needles. It just makes it a little easier to stitch. Okay, now we're ready to go. We need to do our back stitch. So you'll take your right needle, and what I always do is I orient the piece so that the finished side that I punch the chisel through, the pricking iron through, is facing my right. It's a bigger opening. The back side, the left side, is going to be a smaller opening. So you're going to basically chase this left needle, or the right needle with the left needle. So I come in, I'm going to take my left needle, and I'm going to follow it through the hole. So here, and then I'll chase it through. Now it's important what we do with our hands. So you're going to hold on to your right needle. You're going to place it underneath your left needle like a T. And then you're going to pinch. So now I have a little cross with my right hand under my right needle under my left needle, and then pull through. I'm going to maintain this cross, and I'm going to rotate my wrist so I've inverted. So now my right needle is on top. Okay, so needle comes under, T, pull, flip. I'll use my ring finger to get this left thread out of my way, and I'll use my left hand to grip the back of the thread. Now you're going to come through. Really important step, as you are coming back through, pull this left thread out to make sure that you haven't pierced that thread with your needle. Okay? This one, I'm not going to throw my thread, so I'm going to come through. I'm going to hold on to this right one still, and I'm going to grab with the left, and I'll use these ring fingers so that that's what's pulling the tension. I'm not pulling tension here at the eye of the needle. When you pull, make sure you are consistent at an angle, and this has to be replicated every time. Now as I start to get close, I'll switch from here to here, so I have my dexterity. Grab the thread on either side and continue that pull. Give it a little yank. We've done our first thread. Now we got to come back. Same thing. Right hand, you're going to feed through. You're going to chase back. Make your T. Pull through. Maintain that T. Pull that thread out of the way. Flip your hand. Get a hold of this left thread. Chase it back through. Get this knot in the way back here. Now you have the right needle starting to come through. You've pulled to make sure that we're not locked up on there. You're going to cast that thread over the top. Now when you pull through, remember to keep that angle as you're pulling. Use your pinkies or your ring fingers to keep the tension off of that eye. Now, as we get close with this, because we already have a thread in the way, turn it back here, you'll want to pick up the slack, use your needle point to stack your thread. Do you see how that lays up? And then you do the same on the backside. Backside typically will fall right into place. But you can see, can you see that? You can see that I've stacked that thread on top. So they're not crossed over, that creates a weak point and it just looks kind of ugly. So now I'm probably just gonna time lapse. No, I won't. I'm gonna do this slowly again, just so you can watch. So now we're gonna do this cast every time until we get to the very end and we do the back stitch. When we do the back stitch, we won't cast. So, right, chase it, make your T, pull through. When you go back through, pull your thread, cast it, pick up your needle, pull at a consistent angle, and get tight. Now, if you've got big enough holes, you don't need to chase back through. But this is the process of saddle stitching. Wrap. When people ask me, how do you get your saddle stitching better? Do it 10,000 times and then ask again. And at that point, you won't need to. The thing to keep in mind though, is your stitches will start getting ugly and non-uniform if you deviate from your sort of mechanical process. If you're pulling at a different angle, if you are pulling at a different tension, those are all the things that are going to affect the way your stitch looks. So I'm going to just keep going quietly until I reach the end, and I'll show you how to finish this. Alright, so we are on our last stitch. Just as a reminder, I'm going to just repeat it again. Right goes in, you chase it with the left needle, make the T, pull through, pull it out of the way with your finger, flip it over, come back in. As you're feeding that needle, pull back on the thread with your left hand, cast it over, bring it in, cinch it down. Now, typically when I'm doing this, I'll do two. I only did one. I'm only going to do one here just to show you. But now we're going to do chase back. This is going to pierce the thread. There's nothing you can do about it here. Chase back. Make your T. Flip. Push. Now this one we're not casting. Remember, we're not going over here on this one. When you pull through, this is going to be kind of a tight one because you're going through several layers of material. Come on, there we go. Okay. Now as you suck this left side up, I like to use this needle and I'll place it, can you see? Right, okay, so right under this thread, I'll place it and it'll just guide it down. And then the same thing here, I'll just do that on the back side. You usually don't have to, I just keep an eye on it. The back side will kind of tend to go where you put the front side. Okay, at this point, we can do more back stitching, whatever. If this is the front of our material, I like to hide the cutoff. So what I will do is I will go back one more. I'm not gonna come back through. I'm just going over the surface, pull it, and now I'm going to switch hands. So my left needle I bring over to my right hand because I only need the needle. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to place it right under that thread and then suck it up there. So now you can see the way these are laid. You can see the consistency and you can see that nice angle of all those threads. What I'm going to do, clip this off back here. The back looks nice as well. That's what that casting it over with our left hand will do, is it will make that back stitch decorative as well. So I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the 7 stitches per inch with the linen thread and show you how that looks different.